So happy Saturday. I said it right this month. I can't believe we're already at the in November. We have 2 months left until the new year. That's crazy. That's insane. But one of my, I'm sure I'll talk about this later, but one of my biggest achievements, I think this year, has to be the fact that I kept going with this column, Inspiring Figures. So today, that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about. So for those who don't know, Inspiring Figures is a monthly blog column where I share with you people who are catalysts in inspiring and motivating me. They're people you should really know about. And today, for the November feature, I'm really excited to talk to Aimee. I'll quickly just talk about how we sort of met. So I think I posted something on the Facebook bloggers group thing for Sheffield, and I said, you know, I like writing about health, I like well-being stuff, I love tech. Posted that on Facebook, and I was like, does anyone else do the same thing? I wanted to connect with more people who are a bit more like-minded. So yeah, and then Aimee commented, and then ever since then I've been following her content, following her journey, and it's been so inspiring. I've just literally sat here been like, oh my god, guys, you need to know about Aimee, I need to talk to you about Aimee. So that's what I'm going to do today. So without further ado, I'm going to invite her, and I hope that tech works, because sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see what happens. Right. Hopefully this works. Hopefully this works. Also, I took a screenshot instead. Great. Okay. Hi, Aimee, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Oh my god. Like, I've been trying to, like, I don't know, like I was saying earlier, I love your stuff. I love what you've been doing. And I was like, every time I go to Sheffield, I'm like, I'm going to try and organize coffee with you. But then I'm also busy. So I'm like, oh, I never have the chance to. But thank you for joining. For those like who are going to like join in later or like watch later, could you quickly explain like who you are, what you do, and you know, just a general introduction?
Sure. I'm Aimee. I'm the founder and director of the Happiness Bootcamp. I run fitness events across the UK to educate on mental health. And we're primarily based in Sheffield, so I do personal training here to do with mental well-being, fitness classes every week, but we don't talk about things like abs and getting a certain figure. It's all about doing it for yourself and your well-being and getting stronger. So yeah.
That's really, like, I think that's the main reason I wanted to get you on this feature, just because like it was really refreshing to see someone, you know, get into health but not focus on the abs, the booty, the everything else. It was always about you as a person. It was always about being healthy from within, which is really inspiring and really great to have you spread that message on. So I'm interested on like how you started your health journey and how you started Happiness Bootcamp, because obviously it must have been like a personal thing for you.
Yeah.
To it. So I'm really interested to hear.
Yeah, I'm really open about talking about mental health, because I think if I'm happy to talk about it, then possibly other people will realize that it's not something they should be afraid of talking about. The idea started around June 2016-ish. I had suffered really bad with my mental health. I'd been through CAMS and IAPT and different NHS services. I'd been on medication since I was 16, 17 for my anxiety and depression, and it was horrific, but there was nothing there for young teenagers. Every time I sort of went to get that help, it was talking about divorce or losing your job, and at like 16, 17, like you haven't been through that. So in the June 2016, a good friend of mine had this idea, and she ran a cafe in Sheffield, and she was like, "Why don't we do a talk about your experience with anxiety?" And I was so nervous. Like, I never public spoke before, never did presentations and things. And when we put it on Facebook, we had hundreds of people so interested in this talk, and I did it. And then had the idea for the boot camp, but never really knew where to go from it. So we didn't really set it up until the October of 2017. So like over a year, like in the making. But I really just started it because I was sick and tired of people thinking that people with anxiety and depression are less than what they are, and that there's so much stigma behind it, and people don't think that because they have anxiety and depression or any kind of mental illness that they can't do certain things, and it's so wrong. And you know, we have this impression that everyone with mental illness is quiet or an introvert and maybe doesn't leave their house, when in reality that's not the only symptoms that people can have. So I just set it up to spread awareness, and then in the January, after being on Radio 1 and BBC Newsbeat, it just went viral. So it's kind of gone off from there.
Amazing. Oh my God, we share sort of a similar thing actually. So I started my own like health journey in the summer of 2016 as well. Because that's probably why I connected with you so much.
Yeah. It was a good summer.
It was a good year. Well, it was a bad year. Turned into a good thing. So yeah, it was 2016 for me as well, and yeah, it's great that you talk about that. You had that confidence to talk about it. I'm thinking about 2016 me. I don't think I could have done any of that, like what I do now. Oh my God, that's so terrifying. But that's really good that you've done that, and now it's gone viral, and now you're helping so many people. That's incredible. So right now you're a personal trainer.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in that? Was it part of the initial idea, or where did you go? How did you set that up?
Yeah, so I'd been running classes doing pop Pilates for since the January of this year. And the one thing I always wanted to do, for me, fitness absolutely helped me, like, more than anything ever. When I quit A-levels, I'm at university now, but that's kind of a different story. But when I did quit A-levels, I didn't even finish my first exams for AS. The government weren't happy that I was out of education under 18. So the first thing they do is contact your parents with like a fine or giving them like a warning. And for me, the only thing that was available for me to go into education before September was a level 2 fitness instructor award. And I hated fitness. I hated sport. I hate everything.
That's
like
so surprising.
It's so bizarre. Like at school, I pretended to be the pole in rounders. Like I was like, not a chance. Like I'm not running. So I did it because obviously I didn't want anything to go off. And from there, when I did my level 2 instructor, like everything changed, because it was as if everything on fitness is kind of based on bodybuilding, and this whole thing you've got to go 7 times a week and it's a dedicated lifestyle, all of this, that and the other. When in reality, when you educate yourself, it's so different to what is perceived on social media. So I just finally decided to do my level 3 personal training award. And I set it up to be completely different to other personal trainers. Like I didn't want to be there to focus on people's weight and measurements and all of that. And I wanted to focus on their other goals. So I've got clients that have, they want to lose weight, but they've got these goals of being confident wearing a little black dress at Christmas, or wearing a vest top in summer, or wearing a bikini. And I think that's so much more important, because we're defining ourselves as goals rather than defining ourselves as numbers. So I just wanted to do it to bring something completely different to the industry.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
I think you have done that, honestly. I think when I speak to my friends about like health and well-being, especially in Sheffield, my friends in Sheffield, I'm like, oh, you should follow Aimee. She does like so many things, and like maybe join a class. I want to join a class next time in Sheffield.
You are more than welcome.
I'd definitely love to organise that. That's amazing. So you were describing how you want to sort of use fitness to help with people's mental health, and now you've set up this I love this hashtag that you have. Hashtag Be Fit Mentally. I love it. I want to scream and say, yes, that is what I'm talking about. That is amazing. So like, was that just part of the whole movement, or did that like sort of develop over time, that, you know, that hashtag and that movement?
So Be Fit Mentally is actually a scheme that we run.
Oh, okay, that makes
So
sense.
not a lot of people know this. We're still sort of in the process of working out where we're going with it.
Yeah.
So we've run training days within schools and businesses, gyms across the UK. And the profits, we're a social enterprise, so the profits that we earn, be that workshops or training days or classes, we put towards the scheme, Be Fit Mentally. Within that, we give people free one-to-one personal training sessions, free access to classes. We're hooking up with a couple of counsellors until I finished my psychology degrees, and provide people with mental health who aren't having access to the NHS with those free sessions, and that's part of the scheme. So the hashtag came from that originally. However, it sort of moved into a bit more of a movement, and now it seems to be really recognised. So I changed that for part of the personal training as Be Fit Mentally. We put it everywhere, and it really is like our motto is that we go into fitness, but we want to use it to educate on mental health. So no, the hashtag took us forever to think of.
Really? Wow.
And then I was going on Instagram for ages, like looking what nobody had posted before, and no one had posted that hashtag, and I was like, yeah, we're having that one.
That is such a good idea of starting a hashtag. Whenever I want to start a hashtag, I just put poor in the middle somewhere, and then I'm like, oh,
I love it.
Someone's done that for. That's me. That's really incredible. I think again, when I was talking to these friends about health and well-being, and I was recommending you, I literally said, when I was pitching everything you do, I was like, oh yeah, it's like being fit mentally. And I was like, that's what I mean. So that's really great that you do that. So, you know, I've seen that you've done a lot at Sheffield Hallam. That sort of like was because at Sheffield University I used to work at this enterprise zone where we brought in ideas from students who had like amazing like startup ideas or business ideas. Was that a similar thing in Sheffield Hallam that, you know, helped you set it all up? And, you know, obviously because you're an actual business, you know, you need the funding, you need the resources. So like, I think I'm going more towards the entrepreneurship side now. To sort of understand, because I think you are an amazing entrepreneur, literally self-made. So I think it's really awesome just to like talk through how you did that, because I think lots of people would find it useful.
Definitely. It's something I don't talk massively about, like the entrepreneur side of it, but it's something I want to talk about. I'm never sure like who's interested in it.
God, loads of people are, honestly. I think it's like when I look at, you know, Happiness Bootcamp and, you know, Be Fit Mentally, I think it's a whole entrepreneurship project.
Definitely.
Incredible. So yeah, definitely.
So when I first had the idea, especially being a social enterprise, there was very little help for social enterprises out there. They're definitely not recognised enough for the amount of work we do as a social enterprise. It came to January of this year. I wasn't registered for a long period of time, and a lot of people jump into it thinking they've got to register straight away when there are rules and guidelines you can look into. You don't have to be registered until you are trading and all sorts of things. When it came to the January, I reached out to a gentleman called Rob King, if anyone's at Sheffield Hallam University. I'm a full-time student there as well. And they have the Careers and Employability Centre. And in there is so much advice for current and graduate students on setting their own business up. They helped me massively with registering as a sole trader at first. From there, I went to every workshop that they had with Business Sheffield as well, if people haven't heard of them. They're amazing. And I went to finance and bookkeeping and registering and taxes and just everything. And it was so daunting at first because I don't have family who's in business. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I then was really lucky to stumble across Social Enterprise Exchange, who, if anyone wants to set up a social enterprise, they're sort of in the middle between being a limited company and taking everything for profit, and being a charity and not making profit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of in the middle. So we trade, we make our own money, but then our profits go towards community interest. And when I met Social Enterprise Exchange, that's when we registered as a social enterprise. And from there, they helped us with funding. We had no financial funding until 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Everything we did was, we didn't really put our own money into it. Everything we did was being cheeky. We asked people for free room rent. You just have cheeky in business at first, and it helped us get where we are. We only got a little bit of funding because we won it. We won we won the runner-up of the Hallam Enterprise Award.
Amazing.
So that helped us massively. But I'm now full-time self-employed, so I only do this now. But the amount of work that kind of goes behind it, I think a lot of people just see the social media side of, like, you'll know exactly what I mean, of like what we do. They only see the glamorous parts of, they don't kind of see the emails and the late nights and the Excel sheets and everything else that goes into it. And it's something that I kind of want to show people, because I think a lot of people ask me and they're like, I want to start a business. I'm like, but are you kind of ready for the amount of work that goes behind it?
Yeah, I think I can totally relate to that, because when I was working at Enterprise at Sheffield University,
Yeah.
come in with so many amazing ideas, honestly incredible, but they weren't there with the mindset, they weren't willing to put in the work, and it's a different route, and it's really exciting. A part of me thinks that has been saying for a very long time that do that on the side, go after you graduate, go on and do something that a bit more in the entrepreneurship route. I've decided to hold off for a bit because I think I'm not exactly there yet, but having that it's just that exactly what you said. But yeah, I think students should use the resources that they have at university. It's incredible. Like, there's so much out there. So now I work for BT, and I wouldn't have got my job without all of the help from the career service and all sorts of things. There's just like loads of resources that students can definitely make the most out of, and Sheffield is a great place for entrepreneurship. I think there's loads of resources, loads of people. So yeah, that's so amazing. I think, Aimee, you should definitely talk about it more. I think you are such a good example of someone from Sheffield who's doing really well with their own business, and like it's only going to get bigger and better. So.
Oh, sorry, it broke up a second. We're back.
Oh. So yeah, could you like quickly talk to us about like what the highlight of your entrepreneurship journey has been so far? So has there been any like sort of events or any recognition that you've been like, oh my god, this is amazing, I'm so proud of myself?
This entire year has been insane. Like, from January to now, like, I can't believe that everything has kind of just happened within 10 months. Obviously, when I started the idea in 2016, and it's advice I have for a lot of people, is never rush your idea or your business. It's taken me over like 2 years to just start with registering. In the January, when I was on Radio 1 and BBC Newsbeat, that was absolutely insane. But one of the major highlights I definitely had was around May, and I was asked to go to teach for Reebok at BFit London. And then the week after, I taught at Body Power.
Yes, I remember.
And being someone in the fitness industry, like getting to go and talk at Body Power, and I'm going back next year for 2019, was the craziest thing ever, because you kind of, to me, like, looking at Body Power is the biggest fitness expo. It's the biggest thing you can do, like, in the industry. And there were so many famous names, and then my name, like, underneath them all. It was so crazy. And the whole weekend I got to wear like a speaker's lanyard, and I got to go down to Body Power HQ, like down near Coventry, and just going in there was madness. So I think that was a huge highlight for me. And then probably the one after that was going full-time self-employed. I think it's been a month, maybe just under a month now of, oh no, maybe more than that, about 6 weeks or so of being full-time self-employed, but never in a million years did I think I'd be like earning enough to completely support myself. It's a bit crazy, and it's a lot more hard work than being in a job. I've definitely worked that one out. You can't have sick days. That's it. And definitely having to pay yourself is a bit crazy. Like, whenever I need a little extra money, it's so much harder because you can pay yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have to like stop yourself and be like, no, like wait till the first.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, I'm so proud of you, Aimee. Like, honestly, in the short time I've been following you, seeing all of your.
Yeah. My partner's like, dude, that's who you can hear cleaning up.
Yeah, seeing all of your success and everything. I definitely want to get a ticket to Body Power next year. I'll definitely see you.
Yes.
So I'm going to see you another time. That's going to be amazing. But yeah, so I want to quickly talk about just exercise in general now.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm reading through all my notes. I have so many notes to just ask you. It's all overwhelming. So what do you think? If you could talk about like one exercise you think everyone should be doing, sort of like implementing into their routine, what do you think? What would you say? Like that one exercise or one workout?
One thing that I love, and it's the one thing I do with pretty much all my clients, is circuit training.
Okay.
And the terms of this is we don't do it in terms of, I mean, it's great for cardio and that sort of thing. But the one thing I think is so beneficial is getting your heart rate up as much as you possibly can, and kind of working to your max in those sections. And the one thing I see with my clients is when they first start doing things like HIIT training, but we don't do things like loads of star jumps and that sort of thing. We love doing things like sledge pushes and tire flips and getting them to do things that they never would do in the gym themselves. And you kind of see them go from strength to strength. And I love that, like seeing people do things they didn't think they could do. And circuits can be different ways. Like I have girls that come to me for completely just for mental reason, like mental well-being reasons. And they come once a week to me and they just say to me like, look, we don't want plans, we don't want to be weighed, we just want you to absolutely like beast us in like a session. Like we just want to feel amazing afterwards. So we'll go outside and we do boxing, like 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, like doing sprints, things that they would never do themselves. And I think that kind of training is so beneficial in terms of yourself. Every few seconds, you've got 10 seconds left and you're so exhausted. You have to be so strong to push yourself those last 10 seconds. And to just normal weight, which I love. But it's so easy as well for people to do. Like you don't really need to know the mechanics behind a squat or a deadlift. You can just pick up a dumbbell, do some goblet squats, do some step ups and push a sledge. So I think that's probably my favorite workout training at the moment. 100%.
Amazing. I need to honestly, straight after this, I'm gonna go on your website and check things out because I think I need I need something different. I think that's really exciting.
Definitely come to Pop. We do Pop Pilates Mondays and Tuesdays in Sheffield.
Oh really?
We do one at Hallam Union at 6:30 on a Monday, and that's a mix of students. But our biggest class is on a Tuesday at Sweat. You don't have to be a member either to come down. They're £4 at Sweat and £3 at Hallam Union.
Oh
and
wow!
We do it super cheap. We want our whole thing is for it to be affordable. Like my personal training sessions, I make as affordable as I can, so people can access that exercise that maybe can't usually afford it. And Pop is amazing. People think it's Pilates, but it's really not Pilates. And it's so high intense. And we have a complete mix of people that have never exercised before to people who are experts at exercising. And people have a laugh, and that's the aim of it.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be like Buddy Pump or Les Mills where you feel really quite serious doing it. sometimes I can't even like do the class. Like I'm so shattered, and I'm trying to balance teaching everybody, and everyone just ends up like laughing because I can't balance on one foot. And that it's just making exercise fun. Like it doesn't have to be classic exercise where you go to the gym and do this, that, and the other. For some people, it's amazing. Like they love it. Like I love going to the gym, but for others, they hate it. So it's trying to have that borderline for people. That exercise doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much, Amy. There is another question. What are your
Yay.
um, what are your main remedies for like days where mental health is an issue? Recently, this week has been such a bad mental health week for me.
Yeah.
Loads of things have happened. And I've been doing what I usually do is I go exercise, write, do something a bit more creative. So this is good for my mental health. What I'm doing right now, it's great for my mental health. But I think I'd like to know what your sort of main go-to things are when you're having those days. And yeah, I think you're the best person to ask. Oh, hopefully did that work?
Okay, I think it's back.
Yeah, we're back. Awesome. So
There
yeah,
we go.
did you get my question? I was just asking what your main remedies are for a bad sort of mental health day.
So the one thing that helps me massively is knowing that I'm having a bad mental health day. And one thing I sometimes try and push it onto other things, like blaming other people or other things for how I'm feeling, when in reality it's your own feelings towards situations. I try not to avoid things. Sometimes you can't not avoid things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But say if I'm having a really stressed day because I've got loads of coursework or exams are coming up or something like that, I try not to avoid that situation, because avoidance is great in the short term, but in the long term you're still gonna have to do that thing. So that doesn't help at all. But one thing we try and teach through the boot camp is taking the time for yourself. Sometimes we get super overwhelmed and we take too much on, and there are situations that we don't have to be in. So I like classic things like going to watch TV, putting your phone on silent, I stop replying to emails, having a shower, but there are other methods that we can use. So breathing is a huge one for me. There is the seven, I just forgot it off my head. I think it's 7-8-6 or 7-8-4. You breathe in for counts of 7, then hold for 8, I think, and then exhale for 5 or 6. That helps to calm you down so much, and I really, really love that method. Simple things like some people breathe from 1 to 10, so they breathe in for 1, breathe out for 1, breathe in for 2, breathe out for 2, and count all the way to 10 and count themselves all the way back. But the one that helped me massively was something called a description method. I've just chucked my makeup on the floor. A description method. You describe everything that's around you. So one thing we don't like to do is, especially if we're feeling anxious or we're in a situation where people are around us, we don't want to make it really obvious. Description means you literally just describe everything you see around you in your head. So if I was sat like in this room now, I'd be like, the walls are cream, the door's brown, the blinds are white. And you're trying to shift that mind change on something else for the short term. The biggest thing when we feel anxious or having a really bad day is we're constantly thinking about that situation. Whereas if we can completely change it and think about something else, it helps to really shift it. But the main thing is acknowledging it and realizing that it's a bad day, not a bad life. That helped me massively, and knowing that it's not the end of the tunnel and that today is not the end of somebody's story, that it is just a section of our life, and everyone has these bad days. No one's life is perfect. I will never say that I'm healed or cured from mental health, because I'm not. Like, I've had days where I've called ambulances out to like my student apartments because like my panic attacks have been so bad. and that's been while I've had the boot camp, but I talk about that happily because we should talk about it. But I think it's just understanding that it's okay to feel the way you do, as long as you understand that it doesn't have to be your entire life.
Yeah, definitely. I think like when you've just made me think about when I was going through really bad mental health when in 2016,
Yeah,
I used to say to myself all the time that, oh my God, my life is horrible. I'm having a horrible day. I'm really anxious now. This is going to be me for the rest of my life, and I can't control it. I can't do anything about it
yeah,
until there was that sort of switch where I was like, actually, I have full control of my emotions. I have full control of everything, and it's like you said, it's a bad day. It's not a bad life. Everything's gonna be okay. And I think that is like a mindset. I can't say mindset shift without mindset shift. So yeah, like those breathing techniques are really, really good. I use a app called Calm. I've been using it.
yeah,
It's incredible. That's really helped me. They also have like a descriptive thing, like you described, but it's more. It's sort of like, so what can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell?
yeah.
And like that, and just thinking about it in your head, and that again has also helped me with my own like panic attacks. But yeah, but that's really good. That was really useful advice. I think like I think the main thing I got from that is just to remind yourself that it is just a section. It's just a day of
Yeah.
like all, of your whole life. There's like you're gonna have more good days than bad. I think so. That's just something we need to like stress. So yeah, my final question, Amy, is it might be a bit controversial, a bit. What is your favorite thing about Sheffield?
Oh, I mean, I'm a Sheffield girl, born and bred. So, like, I've always
Oh,
been from Sheffield,
yeah,
which is nice. I just moved out of my family home,
yeah,
and didn't leave. Favorite thing about Sheffield, I think there's a few things. There's something about it, like it is literally like a village just in a town.
yeah,
Everyone's super friendly. I really like that. But I like everything that goes on here. Like, you literally are 2 seconds away from the Peak District, but then you're also 2 seconds away from like the city centre. Um, I love things like Pedlar Market. I don't know if you've ever been. That's like on this weekend. Um,
yeah,
like all the food markets, and um, there's so much help for entrepreneurs and so many
yeah.
events that goes on. But like probably my least favorite thing about Sheffield is like Meadowhall on a
Same.
weekend. Oh, I can't deal with Meadowhall on a weekend. When
No.
you've lived in Sheffield for so long, I'd rather go to like the Trafford Centre.
Yeah.
Or like Leeds, I go shopping in
Oh, you
Leeds.
I used to work in Meadowhall, and oh my God, I used to work on the weekends at Meadowhall, and it was
I've
so
done the same. I
not.
think it's like the law that anyone from Sheffield has to work at Meadowhall at some point in their life.
That is so true. Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think my favorite part about Sheffield is the fact that you can have some headspace at the Peak District, but also come
Yeah.
back and have like, Division Street. I'm so in love with that street.
Division Street, yeah.
I love that street. It has so many cool like hipster coffee shops
Mm.
and food, and oh my God, it's just my favorite place ever. So
But
I also,
nice. You can go around, you can see like mainstream shops like Topshop and M&S, but then there's so many thriving small businesses like
yeah,
right next door.
yeah,
And I really love that about Sheffield. It's like you can go down the high street and see all the main chains, and the next thing you can go around the corner and you can see all the small individual like independent shops and coffee shops and things.
yeah.
Um, and they're always so busy. Like, I love seeing people support those small businesses.
Yeah, I'm always like, well, I've moved to Leeds now, but when I was living here, because my parents live here, so yeah, when I was here, I was literally like every single day, like when I was at uni, supporting a like little local coffee shop
Yeah.
or like food. I love Lucky Fox. Oh, so
I used to love when they did the huge freak shakes with the donut on top.
oh yeah,
Them anymore.
so good. Oh my God, every time I speak to someone from Sheffield, I'm literally like, I'm coming back here. Leeds is temporary. I'm not not gonna say Leeds. Oh my god, thank you so much, Aimee, for your time.
No,
It was,
thank
it was
you.
so lovely to talk to you. So for those who don't know, like the format of this, I usually love talking to to my guests on Instagram Live, and then I listen back to it, write it up on my blog pauline.com, and post this video on YouTube, and hopefully I need to get SoundCloud and Spotify working again because that's failed. So I'm going to write this up and link back to all of Aimee's work, and it's been so great to talk to you. This is the first time I've spoken to someone in the health and well-being sort of area. I usually talk to people in tech, so it's been really nice. It's really refreshing, and I think I know a lot of people will get a lot out of what you've talked about today, Aimee. So thank you.
But also, we're crowdfunding at the moment to do
Mm-hmm.
to create qualification in mental well-being and fitness. So if anyone wants to support us for that, the link's in my bio. We're trying to raise the money for it. There isn't currently anything out there for mental well-being and fitness. We want to qualify PE teachers and counsellors and personal trainers so that people up and down the UK will be able to find people through the boot camp. Because I can't be everywhere at once. So if anyone wants to help us on that journey, then even like £1 means the world to us. So
oh my God,
I put that in.
I'm so glad that you put that in. I'll definitely find the link and post it on my blog as well.
Thank you.
I think it's so important. And I just love how you focus on mental health and being healthy from within, and it really warms my heart. Thank you so much,
Thank
Aimee.
you.
Have a lovely rest of your Saturday.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.